Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Houston Sharpshooters Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 22. So in last episode, we had probably our toughest offseason yet, I'd say, because we let go of a lot of pieces that were kind of like our secondary and third line scoring kind of guys. So our roster has taken a massive hit, but we do still have a couple good pieces. But right now, I don't really know if this team's going to make the playoffs or not. It really depends on how our defensive core does, probably, and goaltending. As you can see, Thornton and Jääskeläinen still together, but both of them are on the last year of their contracts. Burns only on a one-year deal as well, just because if for some reason Jääskeläinen retires at the end of the season, Burns could take over that top-line role. A lot of youngsters like Brock Cole, for example, Philip Petrovicki, a lot of our former first-round picks are just getting thrown into the roster right now and hoping that they could actually get some development. So I really don't know how this team's going to perform, because after the second line, you can see that it drops off considerably. So this team probably won't make the playoffs, but this defensive core is still pretty good. When you got guys like Griffin, who picked up 87 points last year, Sedin, who's really good offensively, Teratukin is kind of dipping offensively, but still pretty solid, I'd say. And then you got McGrath and Lowe and Klein, who's going to be making it to the roster. This guy was a former fourth rounder, so it should be interesting to really see how this defensive core does with our roster. And then goalie-wise, looks pretty solid, I'd say, still. So yeah, there's a lot of questions still with this roster and how it's actually going to assimilate, just because of the center depth. And I'd say probably like Afinasenkov, Petrovicki, Wharton, and Pietrangelo, they're all not really NHL players. So it's going to be a quite interesting season, I'd say. Nonetheless, it might be our worst season that we've had in a long time. But if we miss the playoffs, at least we should be able to get a good draft pick in that could potentially turn the tides of the rest of this franchise mode, because we only have, like, I think 5 or 6 seasons left before we hit the 25-year maximum. So there is that. AHL wise, just in case you wanted to take a look at this, I don't think we have a whole lot of good prospects in there. Looks like a lot of them are top 9s and bottom 6 forwards. So unfortunately, we're kind of running dry on our prospect pool as well. So there's a good chance that this might be one of our last chances to win a cup soon as well. Like, we do have Festerini, but I don't really know if he's going to pan out. And then goalie-wise, I guess Vlasic's probably our best prospect down there, because we do have a lot of goalies. So should be interesting to see if any of those guys get to the NHL at some point. But yeah, should be an interesting season ahead. Like I said, don't know if we're going to be a playoff team, but hopefully hopefully we miss the playoffs, even if Jääskeläinen does retire this year, just because I don't know if there's going to be a chance for him to win a Stanley Cup. But yeah, hopefully this year's draft could find ourselves a really good player. Like, if there's a franchise player first overall, that would be really nice. And hopefully we got the first overall pick this year, because if we could just find something like that, and if Jääskeläinen for some reason does not retire, then putting that next to like Jääskeläinen and whatnot might help out our team a lot in terms of offense. So even though we lost like Scuderi, Pasquale, can't remember who else, I think George Forster actually. So yeah, like 3 players at least in our second/third line. I'm just hoping that we could find that depth again in this next few drafts as well, and kind of fill out our roster again, and hopefully we could have at least one more crack at a Stanley Cup, because we made the Cup Finals one time and unfortunately lost. So anyways, let's get through this preseason and see how we do, and then we'll assimilate the rest of the regular season and see how we do as well. I don't think this team's going to be a playoff team just because of the lack of depth, but who knows, maybe some of those guys that are like 73 overall will surprise us. Because, I mean, if they have good shooting categories and stuff like that, maybe they'll score goals. So preseason-wise, we go 4-2-1, so a little bit better than I expected, but it's only the preseason. Teratukin led the way with 9 points in 7 games, which is nice to see, because he didn't have a great season last year. Like, he was outdueled by a couple defensemen like Sedin for sure, and by Griffin. But yeah, I'm really hoping that Griffin has another really good season, because we just locked him up in last episode to an 8-year extension. And he's also making less money than Teratukin and Sedin, so I think that was a really good signing. It might be expensive to pay him 13.5, because right now we're paying for these first 3 seasons with these 2 guys, or all these 3 guys. We're paying like a combined like $30+ million, maybe $40+ million to 3 defensemen, which is a little bit ridiculous. So it's a bit expensive, but it might be worth it in the long run. I don't know for sure if we're going to be able to get guys like Thornton, Burns back. I know Jääskeläinen is definitely the priority if he doesn't retire, though. So actually, I might see what Jääskeläinen wants right now, because I would like to give him his extension already, even if he is going to be retiring. 1 year at 13.8. That's a bit expensive. I'll have to wait and see if he drops his asking price. But yeah, I hope I don't lose Jaskelin, and I need to have him retire with this club because he is probably the face of this franchise. So, okay, let's see how we do this season. So we'll go up to January the 1st, take it one half of the season at a time pretty much. And yeah, let's see how bad this team does, because I'm pretty certain we're not going to be a playoff team with the lack of depth we have. I was assuming a lot of those guys like Pete Piscoli and stuff like that would have been back in free agency, but none of them were, which was unfortunate. And then we ran out of cap space to actually bring back any former players, so we're kind of in a bad situation right now. But our team is off to a good start this year, 6-2-1. A lot better than I expected for the lack of depth, but of course we didn't lose 4 straight games. So yeah, this team is off to a little bit of an inconsistent start, but that is exactly as I was expecting, because I don't think we should be a playoff team. But if we make the playoffs somehow, hopefully we're the cheese team that wins, and hopefully we don't get ousted in the first round, because if we get ousted in the first round, that's where it gets kind of annoying when you have like those tweener picks like 15th overall. But right now we're winning a lot more games than I actually expected. We're on a good little winning streak here, and then we lose in overtime and then lose 5-3 to Nashville. Final few games of December. And we're 18-14-5, so a lot better actually than I expected, really. Morgan Griffin once again over point per game on a team that's not doing that well. We're actually out of a playoff spot at the moment with 41 points. Last playoff spots have 44 and 45, so this division is kind of tight. But that's kind of interesting that Griffin's still able to put up that much amount of points when this roster is not as deep as it has been in the past. So Griffin might be on pace for close to 100 points this season. And if he does hit 100 points this season, that'd be pretty damn insane. Because if he hits 100 points and we literally just sign him to an 8-year deal, I will be really happy, especially with the $13.5 million signing. I think that's a pretty cheap deal for a guy that could hit 100 points on the back end. So let's see what happens in the last half of the season. Like I said, don't think we're going to make the playoffs, but hopefully if we just squeak in, hopefully we make a good run, because I honestly do not want to just squeak in and then be ousted in the first round, because like I said, those tweener picks are like the worst picks to get in a draft to glory, because you either want to have like a top 5 pick or you want to have like a Stanley Cup, that type of idea. So, but right now I don't think we're going to make the playoffs based on this record, because we're kind of being a little bit too win-loss, which is good because we do not want to be in the playoffs at all. But who knows, maybe we're just going to go on a winning streak like we're all right now, and then we lose a couple games. Yeah, this seems so inconsistent right now. And lose a couple more games. 31-28-5, probably have too much regulation losses. We are now 8 points back of the Avalanche and only 7 behind the Golden Knights. So yeah, we're not in a playoff spot right now, and we're kind of simulating a little bit better than I wanted. Griffin has 82 points in 64 games, so he's very close to already having more points than last year. If he hits 100 points this year, I'm going to be like, this is going to be insane. This guy's probably our best defenseman in the series already, even though I do really like Teratukin, because Teratukin was good in his early years, but Griffin might hit the 100-point totals this season, because we technically have 18 more games left this season, and he needs only 18 points. So he needs to go point per game down the stretch in order to hit 100 points. And if he has a couple multi-point games, that will definitely help it out as well. If he hits 100 points, he'll be our first ever 100-point player in Houston, I'm pretty sure, because I don't think Jaskelin ever hit 100 points. I think the most he had was like 92. So let's go to March 11th. Let's take a little bit slower just to see if, for example, Griffin could hit 100 points. Let's just continue simulating. I hope that Griffin could hit 100 points, because that would be pretty amazing to see, especially this late into a franchise mode, you know. 34-30-5 now. How much points for Griffin? 88-69. See, he's going to hit 100 points, I feel like, unless he just goes on like a stretch where he doesn't pick up any points. Let's go to the 24th and see if he could get to 100 points in these 6 games. I think he's the main reason our offense is still producing pretty well. 38-32-5. We are in a wild card spot now. What the heck is this? Or no, we're not. We were in the wild card spot though, I think, right? Yeah, we were in a wild card spot, so we're actually kind of fighting with the Kraken to get into the playoffs. And look at that, Griffin needs 2 points to hit 100 points. in his 3rd season in the NHL. This guy's even better than Cale Makar. Wow, he has 25 goals as a defenseman. This guy's unreal. And I am really glad I signed him to an 8-year deal, even if that means losing somebody like Gene Thornton, for example. Wow. He is going to hit 100 points, and there's a chance that we might slide into a playoff spot, but I really don't hope that happens. Actually, at this rate, maybe I hope it does happen. Let's see, will Griffin hit 100 points in these next 2 games? There's a chance. Let's see. And yes, he did. 101 points for the defenseman with 5 games to go. Wow. And we are still fighting for a playoff spot with the Coyotes now, so we're in like a 3-team battle right now for a wildcard spot. Will we crack our way into the playoffs? Probably not, but an insane season from Morgan Griffin. You guys can see why I wanted to give him an 8-year deal right away. See, Edmonton, that's a 5-4 OT loss. Did we lose 2-0? Then we win 5-2, and then we lose 3-2. That might hurt our chances of winning the playoffs. 87 points. Last wildcard team has 90 points. Yeah, we can't make the playoffs, I'm pretty sure now, which is unfortunate, but hopefully we get the draft lottery on our sides. And one last game to end the season against Montreal. We win 6-5, finishing 41, 34, and 7. So, not our best season for our team, but 107 points for Morgan Griffin is a franchise record. Nearly scored 30 goals as a defenseman as well. Absolutely insane. Wow. Okay, let's get the rest of the regular season simulated. There we go. 82 games are all done. Let's take a look at the standings and all that stuff. But our first year not making the playoffs in I think over 10 seasons, which is really unfortunate. But hopefully we could get the draft lottery on our side and get ourselves a good prospect in the draft to help us out. Because if we have Griffin on the back end, and if we still have guys like Jaskalainen and Burns and Thornton and whatnot, if we could afford that all, our team might be good eventually. Let's see. So, entire league for standings, we are probably like 15th or something, right? We are 18th with 89 points. The exact same record is the Kraken. We scored 3.13 goals per game, which is not top 10. So we actually weren't one of the best offensive teams. We were closer to the bottom, which is interesting. I thought it would be better, especially with Griffin being as good as he was. So that just means Griffin had Griffin had 107 points, so he had literally points on more than half of our goals this season, I think, or almost a half of our goals this season. So he was very instrumental on our team's offense, it seems like. And then goals against per game wise, we weren't that bad defensively. Yeah, we weren't actually that bad defensively, so we were a better defensive team than an offensive team, based on the standings at least. Power play percentage wise, it was not terrible. It looks like 18.1% it said. Yeah, it wasn't terrible. Probably because of Griffin on the back end. And then our penalty kill is one of the places that we struggled in. One of the worst penalty kills in the league, 2nd worst. So we were a good defensive team, but not on the penalty kill. And we were an okay power play team, but not in regular strength. 20-16-5 on home ice, 21-18-2 on the road. Only 3 shorthanded goals this season as well. So there is that. Let's take a look at Morgan Griffin. He's only 81 still, but an absolutely insane season. Okay, so Jaskalainen, 75 points this year and an even 0. Really good season from him, especially at his age. He didn't drop down more in potential, so maybe he'll come back for another year. 85 overall, though. Listed as a second-line forward. If he does retire this season, it's going to be very devastating. We're obviously going to find that out in this episode because we'll sim up to the awards and stuff like that. But Jaskalainen, almost 1,400 points in his career. Absolutely nuts. And his face-off percentages were really good still this season, and takeaway numbers were pretty solid too. So, don't know if he's going to win the Selke this year, but if he does, that would be really nice to see him win another one because he's already won like 8 of them, I'm pretty sure, at this rate. So, there is Rimo. Chad Burns, 63 points, not bad, plus 17. Not really worth his cap hit at 12.5, but he's always a really solid two-way center, so I'll take that. Patan, 40 points, not bad. Petrangelo's at 73, had 35 points. That's not bad. Maybe it's because of Griffin. Who knows? Wharton, 26 points. Radulov, 23. Not bad for like, guys that are really low overall. Left wing wise, Gene Thornton, 64 points. He is definitely starting to decline a little bit. Yep, up to an 87. Exact top 6 as well. It's unfortunate that Gene Thornton's dropping off a lot. He has 600 goals exactly in his career at this point. I hope we don't lose him to retirement soon too. Jacobs, 31 points, not bad. King has 29 points, not bad either, still at 79. Right wing wise, Brock Cole had 30 points. That's not terrible for his first season, but it's not really impressive either. Finisenkov, 24 points, and Petrovicki, 21 points, who's up to a 76, so that's good to see Petrovicki getting some development. Defensively, I don't even know how Griffin picked up 107 points on this roster. I just don't know. He's over point per game now in his career. Like, look at his goal scoring, going from 13 to 12 to 29 goals this year. See, this is why I didn't qualify him. I wanted to lock him up as soon as I could, because if I qualified him this year, he probably would have wanted a lot of money because of 107 points. But instead, we got him locked up. He likes apparently getting point totals of sevens. Like, he upped his point total by 20 points each season. 67, 87, 107. Absolutely insane. There's no playoffs this year for him. But yeah, look at that shooting category. 99s across the board. Really good offensive awareness. Really good passing, discipline, deking. Really good skating as well. This guy would be really fun to watch. And he's also got like 99 strength and fighting skill. So he's an offensive defenseman that could fight, which is funny. You know, he only has 6 PIMs. Teratukin, 54 points is pretty damn good. Sedin, 30 points. McGrattan, 28 points. Klein, 14. And Lowe had 12. So our defensive core, I think, outscored our offense. Mainly because of Griffin. And then goalie-wise, goalie was 39, 23, and 6 with 5 shutouts. A 904 and a 292. So Daryl Goalie had a really solid season. And then Park was not really that great as our backup. But we had a combined 7 shutouts, even though this team somehow didn't make the playoffs. Let's take a look at the entire league for points. See who did what. There you go. Let's go by forwards. So, wow, okay. Griffin just missed out on potentially winning like an Art Ross as well. Because Chiodo finishes with 111 points. Then the next best forward was 105. So literally, Griffin would have been second best in the NHL in points this season. One of only 3 players with over 100 points. Which is mind-boggling. So there you go. Chiodo finishes first. Best goal scorer this season was Javon Sanders in Minnesota with 64. So a lot of goals from that guy. Best defenseman, we should probably know this by now. Yep, Griffin by a long shot. Griffin had 34 more points than the next closest player. It's unreal. So Griffin's going to win 2 Norris trophies by the time he turns 25. I wish we would have been able to get this guy earlier into the NHL, because if we would have got him into the NHL like early in his career, there would have been a chance that we could have seen his entire career play out, but we're only going to get to see it up till he's like 30 years old, which is not fun, because I wanted to see if this guy would broken like Lidstrom's records and all that. Or not necessarily Lidstrom's, but Paul Coffey's and whatnot. Marian Holinka, though, finished second. Jeffrion, who won the Norris a couple years ago, 54 points. Teratukin finished 4th as well. Best goalie this year. Actually, let me take a look. Best defenseman for goals. Griffin led by 14. Next closest was Thalberger with 15. Damn. Best goalie this season was Isaiah Lee with 43 wins. Most shutouts by a goalie this season was Weinrich with 7. Best save percentage by a starting goalie was Alto with a 917. And best goals against average by a starter is going to be Mr. Xander Nielsen with a 265. Any goalie goals this season for fun? Nope. 5 assists, though, from Arthur Ness. Best rookie this season is going to be Vili Varakis of the Ottawa Senators, 67 points. Pretty solid. So there is that. Now we got to take a look and see who ends up winning the Stanley Cup this year, since we did not make the playoffs. Also, hopefully the draft lottery results are on our side, and hopefully we do not lose a Rimo or one of our older guys to retirement, because that would be really sad. Way to end the season. But yeah, this might be a little bit of a longer episode as well, just because of this, but Actually, maybe not really. It's right around 20 minutes right now. So, but it sucks that we didn't make the playoffs this year. But can't complain with a good season from Morgan Griffin. Absolutely unreal. The fact that he's going to have 2 Norris trophies by the time he's 25. And over 100 points as a defenseman, being second best second best in the NHL in points. Absolutely ridiculous. So Detroit's going to win the Stanley Cup this year, followed by Chicago in the AHL. Let's see those awards. See if Jääskeläinen had a chance at another Selke. Actually, first, playoff tree-wise, let's take a look at this. So Detroit won over Nashville in 6 games. Interesting. So the team that knocked us out last year got to a cup final. Interesting. But yeah, Detroit smoked through a bunch of teams. They swept the Habs. They also beat Boston in 5 and the Islanders in 5. And then they beat Nashville in 6. Damn, no game 7s. Let's actually take a look at that Detroit Red Wings roster as well, just because if there's any former players on that roster, that'd be kind of neat. So what do they got here? Any former players of ours? Probably not, but you never know. Nobody I recognize so far. Nope. Nope, no former players, it looks like. Yep, no former players, unfortunately. I was hoping there'd at least be one, but there wasn't. Okay, awards for the season. So Detroit wins the Stanley Cup. Detroit also won the President's Trophy, so I guess it wasn't really cursed. Nashville and Detroit in the Cup Finals. Individual award-wise, Chiodo is going to win the Art Ross. He also wins the Hart. Morgan Griffin winning his 2nd Norris Trophy, which is awesome to see. Back-to-back seasons, and he also wins back-to-back Lady Bings, too, which is really nice to see. So Griffin's already got 4 trophies in his trophy case, and he's only 25. Philly Varakis is going to win the Calder for Ottawa. I think it said Zane Stewart is going to win the Conn Smythe for Detroit. Vic Benson, our former goalie. I believe he won a Vezina at one point, or no, it was a Jennings he won at one point, but he wins his first Vezina trophy with the Dallas Stars, so with our Texas rival, which is interesting. Bouret is going to win the Jennings for Minnesota. Melkar the Masterton for Philadelphia. Como the Jack Adams for the Islanders. And then look at that, Raimo Jääskeläinen, another Selke trophy. I'm pretty sure that's number 9, if I'm not mistaken. Do you guys think that's number 9 or is that number 8? I have lost count. He's won 3 in his last 5 years, but this old man at 36 years of age is going to win another Selke. Unreal. This guy's maybe my favorite player of all time that I've ever drafted. I just never expected him to win this much Selke trophies. Like, this guy's like Patrice Bergeron on steroids, which is kind of ridiculous because Bergeron's already really good. So Chiodo wins the Lindsay and Sanders wins the Richard. Let's see the AHL. Oh, look at that. Damn it, Nashville. So Pete Pasquale was sent down to the AHL by the Nashville Predators. He played in Milwaukee. He ends up leading the league in points and goals and stuff like that down there in the AHL. And then we also had some awards from Vitali and Vlasic in the AHL, so that's cool. Vlasic was the best goalie in the AHL. But it sucks to see that Pete Pasquale was just thrown down to the minors, because I would have used him in the NHL probably. Damn. So there is that. Let's continue to simulate, just so we can see the draft lottery results and the retirements. I'm really hoping we don't lose Jas this year, because if we lose Jääskeläinen, I'm not going to have a lot of motivation in the series, but Griffin at least is giving me some motivation here late in it. So we do not win the draft lottery and we stay at number 16, so right in a spot I do not want to be drafting, and I want to have a top 5 pick so we get elite prospect, but instead we're going to be drafting 16th, so hopefully we could just find a really good like low elite at that spot or another medium elite. I don't know. There's probably going to be a slim chance we find somebody good at that spot that could help us immediately and give that impact we need. Okay, so that is that. What about retirements? Did we get any retirements this season? And I don't think so. Maybe some other former players though. Okay, so let's actually just go by position just to make it a little bit easier. So Shane Wright retires. He's the best center, followed by Samu Saarinen. Any former players of ours? Vitaly Alexandrov, no, but I recognize the name. Try to see if there's any guys that we've drafted before Sergei Emelin? No. Not really a lot for centers. Left wing wise, Brody Sanders, okay. Brooks, DeShergel. Any former players? Not really anything on left wing. Right wing wise, Dmitry Kurosin's going to retire at 35. He was our second round pick in year number 1, I guess it is, or is that year number 2? I don't even know. But he's going to retire after a very good career, I'd say, actually, after leaving us. Because when we let him go, he was not really picking up a whole lot of points. Actually, no, he was. But his ice time was getting less and less, and then eventually he signed in San Jose. Kind of rejuvenated his career a bit. Columbus, he randomly just picked up a 50-goal season out of nowhere. But yeah, that was a pretty good career for him. Almost 1,000 points, just 9 points shy of that. Almost 1,500 games as well. And did he win a Stanley Cup ever? He might. Oh yeah, he did in Columbus last season, actually, I think. But yeah, he had some really good career playoff numbers as well. 77 points in 107 games. So very underrated player there. Best of luck in retirement to Dmitry, who was still signed to another $12.79 million deal, which is kind of funny. Any other former players on offense? Nope. Defensively, any former players? Or no? Let's see. That might be the only former player, which is good that we didn't lose Jaskalainen, but we do still need to re-sign him and Thornton and all those type of guys this offseason, so that's going to be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Goalie-wise, Stefan Soderstrom retires, so we let him go, and he decides to retire, going 329, 226, and 50 with 23 shutouts and 907 save percentage and a 288 goals against. No Stanley Cup wins, but 20 assists in his career, which is pretty good for a former 4th-round pick as well in our first year. Wow. Like, let's look at his career numbers again just through this. So you can see he played a long time in the AHL. Then he ends up going to the NHL. Plays with us for a number of years. We let him go. He plays a couple years in Columbus. Then he plays a year in New Jersey. We bring him back. He plays really good as a backup. Then he plays kind of as a starter the next year. Then he plays more as a backup again. And yeah, that was it for his entire career. Didn't get signed anywhere in free agency last offseason. So we could have technically brought him back, but he is going to retire, which is unfortunate. So yeah, we didn't lose anybody, but we did lose a couple former players. So no retirements to Raimo Jaskalainen at this point, which is great. He's definitely the priority this offseason over Gene Thornton and stuff like that, though. And we do not lose anybody to retirement in terms of coaches. Yep, nobody in that stage, okay? Let's take a look at the draft class and also our contract situation and the progress reports, and that'll be it for this episode. So we're drafting at 16th, I think I said, right? Yep, 16th overall. Let's see what we could potentially get at 16th overall. Not a lot of time left to win a Stanley Cup in. What do we got at 16? Ooh. Can't really tell about any of these players. This guy has no weakness, but he's guaranteed to be 2 years out. So he might be our best option is Ulrich Kubina. What else we got here? Connor Sanderson, 2 years out as well. That's intriguing. I don't know what country that is as well for flag-wise. McCarthy looks really good, actually, potentially. There might be some good defensemen to get around our spot. We might be able to find somebody decent. At least I hope. Anybody else down here to pin? Not really. Any low leads to pin for later rounds? There's a medium elite goalie. Not that it's going to probably help us, but I'll still pin him anyways. Any low leads? Let's see what we got here. Oh, there's one. A low lead gem 2-way defenseman that's supposed to go in the 7th round that's 20 years old, but 5 years out. I'll pin him just because he's a gem, because why not? So there you go. That is the draft class. Progress report wise, let's take a look at those development. So Jaskalainen's continuing to drop off, which is unfortunate, but we are going to re-sign him this offseason regardless of what we give him. Cole's jumping up in overall, which is great. Same with Petrovicki since they got some ice time in the NHL. Petrangelo's getting statistical. A lot of guys are getting statistical. Griffin is also getting some natural growth to his slap shot power, even though it's maxed out almost, which is weird. Interesting. So some statistical growth in the roster. AHL wise, Bradley, that medium elite goalie, is a 67. Interesting. What else we got here? Festerini, that low elite, jumped up to a 68, so maybe he could get to the NHL at some point. But Tony's a 70. Harris, okay. Looks like we got some good development, which is nice. That low elite Keeler up to a 63. So that's really good to see. His passing is getting better as well. Cool's getting growth as well. Hopefully some of these guys could crack the roster as soon as possible, because we definitely need that. And final thing, the contract situation, which is going to be the toughest part. We got Thornton to re-sign, which he's going to be wanting $10 million, which is not actually as expensive as I thought, but he is dropping. Burns still wants over 11. He might not come back. I have no idea. And then Jas wants only 11 million, so we're definitely bringing back Jaskalainen first and foremost. All our RFIs are going to be qualified. And then Ernest Patan is going to try and find his way to like a $5 million contract, which is a bit expensive, but might have to happen. Most of our roster looks like RFAs though, which is good. So we might be able to qualify a lot of the team. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Houston Sharpshooters Draft the Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we will have the entire offseason again, as we look to try and fly through these off seasons and stuff like that, and hopefully we can get ourselves back into being a playoff team again soon, and hopefully we can get Jaskalainen in the Stanley Cup before he decides to call it quits. So I'm guessing down below, and I'll see you guys next time.